My first guest should need absolutely no introduction. Miranda Devine is an investigative journalist, author, columnist, and she broke the story of the Hunter Biden laptop just before the 2020 election. This was a story so explosive, it was censored by big tech and the media because they didn't want it to throw any votes Donald Trump's way. And the whole thing was smeared as Russian disinformation, even though we now know that the contents of the laptop have been verified. Miranda Devine, thank you so much for joining us from New York on the inaugural premiere debut episode of the U.S. Report.
Thanks so much for having me, James. What an honor.
Well, it's great having you here as the very first guest on the very first show, Miranda. And let's talk about Hunter Biden, the gift that keeps on giving. Now, I want to play a voicemail that's recently emerged from the laptop that dates back to 2018. Let's have a listen.
Hey, pal, it's Dad. It's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you get a chance, give me a call. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you. I thought the article, at least the thing online, that's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, was good. I think it's clear.
Now, Miranda, walk us through this. Why is this voicemail so significant? I mean, if the president is saying Hunter is in the clear, he's in the clear from what exactly?
Exactly, James. This is Joe Biden's own voice. He's calling his son to say how relieved he is, basically, that this New York Times story that had just come out in December of 2018, looking into the links between the Bidens and a Chinese energy company, really had very little in it. The thrust of the story was about the energy company and its shadowy chairman, who was Hunter's partner. But at that stage, the New York Times did not know all the links. All they knew was that when one of the executives of this company, Patrick Ho, was arrested at JFK Airport, the first phone call he made was to Uncle Jim Biden, Joe's younger brother, Hunter's uncle. And that was the first public knowledge that anyone in America had that there was something shady going on between the Chinese and CEFC. And Patrick Ho, of course, was arrested on bribery charges. And that was what CEFC was. It was the capitalist arm of President Xi's Belt and Road Initiative, and its entire business model was to go into smaller countries and bribe officials and buy up energy and other infrastructure cheaply, and eventually ensnare these poor countries, strife-torn countries, in debt traps. And they were using the Joe Biden name, because he was then vice president, to get into these countries, to open doors and sort of add an air of respectability to their shady enterprises. And of course, they were willing to pay, and did pay, millions of dollars to the Biden family to just be able to use their name. Now, Joe Biden always maintained that he didn't know anything about his son Hunter's business dealings. This is voicemail's one example of how he did know. He had full knowledge. He was involved in it.
So and now, you know, we had in the laptop, and we had, you know, the comments about 10% for the big guy. Well, this would seem to put that potentially in a new light if Biden knew what his son Hunter was up to, and if indeed he was the big guy in all of these transactions. Yes.
Yes, look, it's pretty much proven now. Tony Bobulinski, Hunter's former business partner, numerous documents in the laptop show that Joe Biden was the big guy. That was how he was referred to. Mm-hmm. And then there is this email about this deal, this joint venture with CEFC, the Chinese company, where 10% is being reserved for the big guy, Joe Biden. And look, Joe Biden, there's other evidence. You know, he met with numerous of Hunter's business partners from China, from Russia, from Ukraine, from Kazakhstan, from Romania, Mexico. He was intimately involved. He invited them to his vice presidential residence. He had dinner with them in Georgetown in an Italian restaurant called Cafe Milano. He even flew Hunter on Air Force Two to go and meet his business partners in China and Mexico and elsewhere, and met with them himself. He was involved very heavily, and there is evidence that he profited as well because Hunter was paying some of his bills. Hunter also complains bitterly about having to fund the entire extended family, having to pay for everything, and giving half his salary to his father.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, Joe was clearly the qualification for Hunter to be the contact for all these people. Just very quickly before we go, a lot of reaction to the Roe versus Wade decision this week from the Democrats. Very quickly, the Democrats have been telling a lot of porkies about this, haven't they, Miranda?
They have. I mean, it's as if you said correctly, the sky is falling in. All this has done, the Supreme Court has just sent the decision about regulating abortion back to the states. So most cases there'll be no difference. In Mississippi, which was the case involved in the Supreme Court decision, it's abortion until 15 weeks. America has the most extreme and unfettered abortion laws, and it's I think that it's democratising it, but they think that this is a way that they're going to get more turnout at at the end of this year and also in 2024.
And Miranda, it brings up the question, of course, why are Democrats so afraid of democracy? But we're going to have to leave it there for this week. Thank you so much for joining us, Miranda Devine from New York.